It's about to get Gabby AF.
We about to get Gabby AF, Gabby AF. We about to get Gabby AF, Gabby AF.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Gabby AF. I'm very excited to be joined by this guest today. His first time on the show, and it is Mr. Shane Helms. Hello, how are you today?
What it is, Gabby?
That's what you texted me, right? What it is. And I said, do people still say that? But I guess they do, because that's what you said to me.
I've been saying that all my life. I got like half the locker room saying that. Still do. Whenever they see me, it's what it is. I got it from Richard Pryor. It's a Richard Pryor tape I had that I can't say the name of the tape. Richard Pryor fans will know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know who he is. I loved that movie he was in when him and the guy from Willy Wonka, they were blind and deaf, right? Isn't that one of his movies? Am I right? Tell me I'm right.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
What was it called?
I like describe it again. I like that movie he was in. That one movie he was in with the guy from Willy Wonka.
This is the one I know most famous for. And one of them was blind and one of them was
him
deaf.
and Gene Wilder did a bunch of ones. I believe that one was called See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
Maybe, yeah. That was my favorite.
Yeah, they got a bunch. But he's when he used to put out comedy cassettes. I'm not sure how old you were, but this might be before you were born.
Yeah.
The age of cassettes, but the title of the album was what I was referring to, in which I can't name it.
Oh.
I know the name, I just can't name it. And if you're a Richard Pryor fan, you will understand that.
Is it inappropriate?
For me, it is. For me, it is.
Okay, then I won't push it. But you can tell me after the show because I'll look it up.
No.
Oh, fine. Okay. If anyone in the comments knows what it is, if you don't get banned on YouTube, you can put it down there and share it for everybody to know. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you've been all over the place. Just got back from Europe. Tell me a little bit. How was it there? I mean, sitting here watching all the shows, those crowds were absolutely insane. Talk a little bit about the experience being there.
This was no lie, one of my favorite tours of my entire career, including as a talent. It was just we got to stay in the same hotel for like 6 nights in a row, and that never happens.
Right.
It just never ever happens. The only thing that comes close is Mania week, when we kind of get to stay in the same place for a little bit. But the travel was great. You know, WWE took care of everything. In that regard, the crowds, like you said, were awesome. You know, we had 7-figure gates pretty much every night in terms of the live events, not just the televised events. So the first half of the tour was pretty tough. You know, I did SmackDown, and then we did a live event in Belfast, Ireland, then Nottingham, England, and then Monday Night Raw in Glasgow. And, you know, after the show, each of those nights, we had another flight to, you know, the following city. So the first part was pretty tough. But once we got to London, you know, I got to stay in the same hotel for, like I said, I think 6 days. And like, I'd never leave the hotel. You know, that's been the thing since I've been a producer. I just kind of stay in the hotel, don't really leave. It kind of keeps me out of trouble. Not that I get in trouble anymore, but at least limits the options of doing anything stupid. But I don't know, this time, because it was connected to the O2 Arena, and there was a shopping mall there, and with all kinds of stuff to do. And I got out and actually lived a little bit on this tour, and it was really fun.
That's awesome. What was your favorite spot, do you think, like your favorite place of the tour?
Like what city?
Yeah.
London. Yeah, because I got to go out and down. I haven't did any touristy stuff in quite a while, and I don't know if you saw my tour guide post, but I think I got a new career being a tour guide. I don't know how much money I'm gonna make, but
oh my gosh,
it could be fun.
You're crushing it on your social medias, by the way. You make me pop all the time, like your personality and stuff. Sometimes, by the way, you comment on my stuff about other sports that we don't agree on with teams and things like that, because you troll me, especially football season, because I'm not a fan of the teams that you like. But
yeah. You mean the good ones? Actually, my team's kind of struggle. I got 2 teams, and they kind of Washington had a decent year. The Panthers still kind of have some hurdles to get over, as has been the case pretty much their entire existence. But last year was okay.
I didn't know you liked the Panthers. I thought you liked only Washington, so that's good to know, because now I
we didn't have the Panthers when I was a kid, so I grew up strictly a Washington fan.
Yeah.
And then when we got the Panthers, you know, you kind of want to pull for the home team, but I had so much, you know, long-term love for Washington, it was hard to abandon them. And like sometimes I still like, let me try to just be a Panthers team this year.
Yeah.
And then I'll end up watching a Washington game, and just it's kind of a throwback to my childhood. Brings me back to that. So, and I've had people go, "You can't have two teams," and I'm like, "Man, I'll like every damn team in the league if I want to."
It's true.
I don't play by other people's rules. I like all of them.
I guess you don't jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. They both suck half the time. So
yeah.
This is like the opposite of bandwagon. They dragging my ass.
Yeah, let me like these teams because they need as much support as possible.
Yeah.
So you talked about Europe. Obviously, like I said, when we were watching it, I was like, I want to be a fan. Like I almost want the Europe crowds to come over here because they started their own chants. They were just so happy to see you guys there. Obviously, one of the biggest things that we watched was every interaction between Cena and Cody to open Raw and stuff was massive reactions, which is clearly what we're heading into WrestleMania, one of the biggest stories right now. But I want to know from your standpoint, like when Cena turned heel, what was that like backstage? Kind of, did you know that it was coming, and like how were the reactions from you guys and the talent? Like, was it as crazy as it was for us watching?
It was a huge moment in the business. Where is it at? I had a picture of me choking Cena.
Yeah.
See? Can you see it?
Not really, but I could zoom in on it.
Let me get this one. Y'all see that shit? I tried to tell you.
Oh yeah, you see, you knew before everybody else.
I tried to warn you. I gotta put this up there. Anyway,
that's a great wall.
Yeah, the Great Wall of Shame. Yeah, that was a huge moment. I think fans really enjoyed the moment and loved being there. WrestleMania is hot this year.
Yeah,
it is. It is a lot I'm looking forward to.
What are you looking forward to the most now that you mention it?
Well, it's different working.
Right.
I will say that. I don't get to enjoy it as much.
Yeah.
Till afterward when I get to watch it. Probably Tuesday or Wednesday when I make it back home. But Roman, Seth, and Punk is like, these are just three of the absolute best, like ever. And I think sometimes when a talent is, you're still watching him, you don't think of them as being one of the best ever. Not always, but these three will go down as three of the best who have ever done this. And they can do it all. So to have this kind of match, this triple threat with that much star power, and each one of them has a great story with the other. And there's so many threads involved. Like, I'm just really excited. I'm trying to stay away from hearing anything.
Right.
So I can watch it as a fan. I'll make myself busy doing other stuff sometimes, unless, I'm less called upon for my opinion on anything. But that's the one I think I'm really looking forward to the most.
Or when you're running down into the ring to break up all these massive fights, they got to use you,
It don't never work, but I'll be trying.
I pop every time, by the way. Yeah. Social media also pops off when you come running down into the ring, which I love. I'm telling you.
There are people yelling at me hurricane shit all the time. Every time I run out, there's some fans yelling hurricane shit at me. So it's pretty funny.
They want to see you back, man. I know it's been a while, but maybe one day it's in the cards. It's written in the stars for you to come back into the ring. Maybe.
I'm starting to be able to get back in this spandex shape now. Like for a while, it wasn't an option. They actually wanted me to do, John Cohn, I'm sure, or know of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me, and there was an appearance for me to do, like, as Fort Hurricane head to toe. And I was like, John, you see me at TV every week. I can't fit in that damn outfit.
That's actually amazing. Give me 6 months to get in spandex shape, and then call me again, is basically what you have to say.
Yeah, because the spandex don't lie. That shit tells the truth. No. So, got me out there looking like a can of busted biscuits. I can't have that on my conscience.
No, absolutely not. What are you talking about? You can't be at the last chapter of your career looking as that bad. You know what I mean? That's what people are going to remember you as is the last time they see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll look like a Captain Chaos, which is way before your time. Like you said, you have no idea who I'm talking about. But
actually, so no,
my
producer's huge in like the history of like, he's much bigger wrestling nerd than I am. He's been following since he was like little. So he called me up on a lot of your stuff, which was good because I prep for my interviews. I am a pro here, Shane, as you know. We've only met a few times, but I know some stuff. I know that you beat The Rock at one point because I watched it. Just saying, I choose Hurricane over The Rock any time of the day. I think bring that shit back. You know what I mean?
Bring that back. Unless he starts whooping my ass with that belt, I can't have all that.
I mean, he's got to come back at some point, I think, because he's now evil, and he's obviously, persuade Cena to be evil, but you knew it before it all happened. Clearly. I knew it.
I sense evil at all times.
Well, you're the good guy. You're big into comic books, which I know as well. Big comic book nerd, which everybody knows, but I now know. And I thought would be an interesting question. I'm putting over my own question for this. Okay. Who in WWE would make the best comic book character?
Well, me.
Besides you, obviously. I'm talking about right now in the world. You would be great, and it doesn't have to be someone who's super over right now, but could be cool in a comic book.
Just going off their look?
The look, maybe the character, what a kind of the storyline it would give into a comic book.
I mean, Penta kind of stands out. I know
that would be cool.
I know there was some kind of Luchaverse comic out for a while, so he might already be in one.
Yeah.
I know Ray actually has some kind of comic book out too. Trying to think of somebody off the cuff. Everybody. See, now I'm thinking of attires, and most of the guys just kind of don't have that superhero attire that they used to have back in the day.
It's a shame.
Logan's got good superhero gear.
He'd be a villain, though.
100%. Why do you say that?
Yeah, exactly. Dude, he's so good. It's crazy. I can't, but
yeah.
Very into Logan.
God, who else would it be? It's funny. I got the action figure people. They send me action figures, and so I got this little setup across my room over there, and it's me in the middle, it's Logan on one side, and Johnny Knoxville on the other, because I trained Johnny Knoxville as well for that match. And in his action figure, he's kind of got a superhero outfit, with a cape and everything. So that's my little setup for them. Oh, and I'm gonna add to it. WWE just sent me this, and they got me on this shit too. Mm-hmm. When I got home from Europe, there's a big box in my office here from WWE, and I'm not expecting anything, so I don't know what it is. I go open it, and it's Rosie's new action figure.
Wow.
Boy, that shit got me too.
That's
but thank you. I don't know who did it, but I appreciate him looking out for me.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
God, what was the question again? Who could be a superhero?
Who would be best in a comic book?
Rhea could be a superhero.
True.
Sure.
They don't even have to be the hero. They could be the
Naomi. Naomi's got, because I'm thinking about gear.
Yeah.
Naomi's got great comic book gear sometimes.
I think Jade
so does Jade.
Gear. Yes.
Yeah, she did. Didn't she do a cosplay of Storm one time?
Yeah, I believe so. And that's all I think about when I see her too, because when she comes in the lightning and stuff like that, I like shit like that. I think that's cool.
I think that was the first thing I ever saw of her, even before wrestling, I believe.
Yeah. What's your take on her? Because now we got that huge storyline. Naomi cut that awesome promo.
She's just a badass. She's and she's working hard, and I can appreciate that. I don't care what level somebody is when I first meet them. If I can tell they're putting in the work and getting better and all that, and she is, I always appreciate that. She's got a super good attitude, in terms of dealing with me. And this is what I go by, I don't know.
Of course.
On the internet, you can see anything. But, super good attitude. And, she's a star. She's got star written all over her. So.
Yeah, I agree. You're in a much different role now than kind of what your career consisted of, because you're not actively wrestling or anything like that. How do you enjoy what you're doing, working with Triple H kind of behind the scenes? Are you happy with everything? Are you feeling fulfilled?
Oh, 100%. I'm amazed at how much I like doing this.
Yeah.
And I was super confident in my career. When I came through that curtain in Gorilla, I knew what happened out there, whether it was good or whether it was bad. And it was mostly good. Come on now, who are we talking to here?
Exactly.
But I kind of knew if something didn't work or click, whatever. But I was always calm, no matter if the match was great or not quite what I wanted to be. When I came through, I was like, all right, and it moved so fast back then, you just on to the next one. Mm-hmm. But when talent that I'm working with, especially in a more hands-on situation, when they come through the curtain and it all went good, I am over the moon happy for them. Way more happy for them than I ever was for myself.
Wow.
And and I guess that's what like teachers deal with, and what they experience and why they like being teachers, they'll come back and I'll be like ready to hug them, but they're all sweaty and stinky, so I don't. But just super excited for them and so happy when something works and you see them starting to figure it out and things start to click for a talent. Like I like that as much as anything I ever did in my career, which I never thought I would like anything as much as I enjoyed wrestling, because wrestling was what I wanted to do my entire life. I went to my first show when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
In 1979, Gabby.
Damn.
Yeah. Damn.
Damn.
Oh, no, motherfucker. But it's been my dream my whole life. So I'm, very fortunate that I got to live that dream. But, being a producer is just awesome. And the team of producers I work with is the best semblance of producers that there's ever been, period. And so
wow.
I have a great time working with them and learning from them. And hopefully I'm teaching them a thing or two. But yeah, I can't say enough about it. And the creative team is awesome too. Triple H, I didn't have any like big problems with the previous administration either. Well, if you can't get along with me, I just kind of assume you're the problem.
Yeah, I said the same thing about myself.
I agree. But Hunter's got a different pace, and he's just a lot more patience and stuff. And I've always enjoyed working with Hunter in the ring, so that kind of that relationship has just kind of grown in a creative aspect.
I love that. Every time I have seen you, you do seem genuinely happy, which is a beautiful thing. And just for anybody working every day to be happy in what you're doing, it's kind of a gift because not everyone gets that. So that's amazing to hear. And I think it shows when you do mention these people that you're like, they were a pleasure to work with and now they're stars and I like to see them grow. Is there anyone in particular that you are maybe very proud of that you've really, really worked with, or someone that you think is going to have a big year coming up that we should probably keep like an eye out for or something like that?
I mean, I kind of like, sometimes I'm hesitant about talking about who I work with because I want them to have all the credit that they can.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
yep.
I mean, that being said, I did lead Logan Paul to like the best rookie year anybody's ever had, period.
Yeah.
So that's kind of going to be hard to top.
That's true.
I mean, in his rookie year, he's main eventing against Roman Reigns on a pay-per-view. That's kind of unheard of. So there's a lot of pride attached with that, but he works his ass off too, And I know I've seen different opinions about him online, but I can tell you I've been at 100% of his training sessions, and I'm the only one that has.
Wow.
Been at 100% of his training sessions. So I think I trust my opinion of him more than somebody who's never been there.
Right.
But the other talents that I like working with, man, anytime I get a chance to work with New Day, I'm excited, especially now that they've got their little villainous turn, which is something which is kind of new for them. I love working with the Street Profits. Recently I got to work with the Creed brothers. There's a lot of potential there that I hope we can tap into. I kind of like getting guys to that top level, because once you get to that top level, you don't need as much coaching or as much producing. Right. Not to say that you don't do none, because producing is a little bit more detailed than just what the match is about. But helping talents get to another level, that's kind of where the fun is for me.
I love that so much. You just named so many tag teams too, which I kind of love because
I love tag team wrestling. I really get a kick out of tag team wrestling.
Which is awesome because I love watching tag team wrestling, and especially like you mentioned, the New Day. I love what they're doing right now in this like new chapter of being these villains. Mm-hmm. And I know another tag team that you're very close with would be the Hardys. Clearly,
hate them.
I hate them so much. Hate them so much that you love them. And it's funny. They're kind of being talked about a lot as like, are they the best tag team of all time? And now you got the Dudleys kind of coming in being like, no, it's us. Like they're having a little fun on social media going back and forth. I want your take. Do you think that we may see another Hardys run in the WWE? Would you like to? Do you think they're the greatest tag team of all time? Putting you on the spot here, even though I know they're your friends. So I gotta get the tea a little bit.
I mean, would I be opposed to seeing them in WWE? No, of course not.
Right.
They are my friends, and even outside of that, they are one of the greatest tag teams of all time. They're definitely going to be in that conversation no matter what. I mean, people can always argue about who's the top spot, but they're going to be in that conversation. You know, not just for what titles were held, but look at how many people tried to emulate the Hardys.
Right.
You know, you got these other teams that did a lot of great things, but I don't know if they were as copied as much as the Hardys were. Like, I would have to tell people, like, sometimes there would be, extra talent coming to WWE for tryouts, like, and they're looking like Matt and Jeff. And I would say to them, like, we have Matt and Jeff. I don't know if we need somebody that looks like Matt and Jeff. We actually have Matt and Jeff,
Right.
They inspired a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So, they're definitely in that upper echelon of tag teams that have ever done this. They kind of changed the game. When you talk about that TLC and everything, that really put tag teams in a spot that previously they hadn't been for quite a while. For whatever reason, because WrestleMania 1 was a tag team match. So you would think that a company that kind of based, there's a lot of gambling that happened in WrestleMania 1 that if it wasn't a success, who knows where the industry would have went. And so that success was based on two things, the tag team match and celebrity involvement. So there's always people that when celebrities come in, they got things to say. And I'm like, WrestleMania was built off of that.
Right.
Are you sure that's a bad thing?
Right.
Maybe it's not. And also, I think pro wrestlers are celebrities. We're on TV as much as anybody.
100%.
So I don't even like the term celebrity wrestler. Like, we're celebrities too.
Yeah.
I've done autograph signings on 6 continents. There's a lot of TV stars that you can go over there and they won't know who the hell they are.
Right.
So, I don't even know what I'm talking about, where we got with this, but just
We're talking about the Hardys.
Yeah, I would love to see him back. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm not in those meetings or conversations, but of course they would get my vote if they could. And if I agent their match, they just need to do what the hell I tell them. That's all.
I mean, yeah. Who are you picking if they had a match against the Dudleys now? Dudleys or Hardys? Who's winning?
Oh, it got to be the Hardys, man. They're the baby faces. I'm a good guy. I'll tell you a story in TNA. Jeff was in this cage match, and he's climbing up the top, and I was helping produce the match, and an executive kind of whispered in my ears, like, man, we got to keep Jeff from doing this. And I just looked at him, and I said, I didn't put Jeff in this cage match. You put Jeff in this cage match.
Right.
You put Jeff in a cage, he's going to jump the fuck off the thing. You made that decision, not me.
Yeah, not me.
Okay.
It's amazing what they're still doing, and sometimes I watch and I'm like in awe because the matches are so good. Mm-hmm. I mean, you mentioned the TLC match. I know Bubba well, so I remember I watched it one time. He's like, "You have to watch this, and I want your full report on it," because I wasn't a fan at the time, obviously. And I watched it, and I was like, "Damn, this shit is crazy!" Like, these kinds of matches and these kinds of moments don't happen as often as we would like or talk about. Like, that match is still talked about as such an influence for tag teams now. And I know something cool that WWE is doing is they're now deciding to put matches and moments into the Hall of Fame aside from just people, which I think is so awesome. What would be for you as a fan in your career of wrestling? Like, is there a match or moment that stands out to you that you would love to see inducted into the Hall of Fame if possible?
Savage and Steamboat from WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
I think that was such a transformative match that really is almost a paradigm shift for wrestling, that match, and I've always heard the argument Andre and Hogan sold the tickets, but Steamboat and Savage is what made fans. Fans saw that. If that was your watching wrestling for the first time, you're hooked.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely incredible. So that would be my number one pick for whatever they're calling this new award.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I have to I want to start a series where I watch a bunch of old matches and react to it in real time because I wasn't that deep dive of a fan to watch them. So you'll have to give me some good recs because I would trust your recommendation since you've been a fan.
Have you seen that one?
No.
Yes, WrestleMania 3 is Randy Savage and Rick Steamboat. It's one of my favorite matches of all time.
What's your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers when you were a fan of what you looked up to and aspired to be like? This is a hard one, and I ask this to wrestlers all the time because it makes me kind of gauge their fandom when I ask.
Of who I wanted to wrestle like, you mean?
Yeah, what as a fan, your Mount Rushmore.
So I mean, Flair is up there. Savage is up there. Jushin Liger was up there. In terms of like when I was like studying when I was a kid, like there was a time, it was a short time period. I think 88 where Ric Flair was the NWA champion, Randy Savage was the WWF champion, and Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. It wasn't Mr. Perfect yet, but Kurt Hennig was the AWA world champion. And all was right in the world. Like that was just, those three guys were absolutely incredible to me. So I would definitely have Liger in there, Savage, and Flair in there, and I think that fourth one could fluctuate from whatever I'm feeling at the time. It could be a Kurt Hennig, it could be a Bret Hart, it could be a Shawn Michaels. That could go in and out, but I needed that Liger, I needed Flair, and I need Savage. They're three. They're the three staples, and I think the fourth is a revolving door, depending on how I feel sometimes.
Interesting. I like those answers. I haven't heard some of those answers before from some people, so I feel like that's kind of a cool. I'm gonna have to watch more matches of those guys because, aside from like Flair, who I've watched a lot, and I know, like I haven't seen a lot of Savage matches.
So where'd you grow up?
Jersey.
Okay, so different areas of the country. So growing up in North Carolina, all I really got was NWA. We got World Class, which is based out of Texas. But so it was NWA Mid-Atlantic in the 80s was the absolute best wrestling on the planet. Yeah. And I say that even now because I went back and watched other stuff that was going on at the time. So I didn't really understand. I thought all wrestling was like this. I found out it was not. Right. I watch other stuff and I'm like, this ain't quite the same. And so when I finally got a chance to watch WWF, and it was, not quite as technically sound as what the NWA was producing. But it was bigger, obviously the production was much bigger, but the in-ring was, just not quite what the NWA was. And I'm just trying to be nice to everybody here. I don't want to disrespect legends that, help pave a street that I drive on. So, but there was a difference. And then I saw Randy Savage and I was like, I was just blown away by Randy Savage. This guy was just cool. He was vicious. He could be a babyface. He could be a heel. He could do it all. He just checked all the boxes. So I really got into Savage in that area. But I was in like either 8th or 9th grade before I first got to see WWF at the time.
Wow. I love hearing these kinds of stories because it makes me think of kids that old now watching pro wrestling and who's going to be that for them when they get older. Because I feel like there's so many people right now, the Codys, you know what I mean? Like these guys who, when they're done and retired, these young kids that are watching are going to go and be like, Cody was one of my greatest of all time. I'm putting him on my Mount Rushmore. So it's cool to see these kinds of things because I feel like what WWE does for kids especially is like transcends over a lot of other things, because when you're a kid as a fan, you keep it in the family, which is awesome. Which that's my biggest regret is like none of my parents weren't like, watch pro wrestling. So like I became a fan 6 years ago, and now I'm like, oh, this shit's cool, but I'm 30 something years old, so I'm like, oh, I wasn't as cool. But like if I have children, I'm gonna be like, watch WWE, like that's cool. I'm making my nephews watch it and my friends, and they all get favorites, and it's all people that I'm like, oh, you like them, like it's so interesting because there's so many different characters and people to like. It's all about like who you like emotionally, and that's why like your answer of your Mount Rushmore is so different than if I were to ask someone else. It just like shows your fandom, like you said, where you're from and stuff like that. But I love that. I think that's awesome. And I think it's an ode to your career as well and things that you've done because you've been in it for a long time. Yep. Do you have like an anniversary day of like pro wrestling every year?
An anniversary day of what?
Of like you being in pro wrestling every year? Are you like, oh, this is my 25th year in pro wrestling on this day?
My first match was in 1991.
Oh, I was born that year. He took his headphones off. Everybody listening to the podcast, we almost got another walk-off from Shane.
Is this live? One. Yeah, I think it was in April or something like that. So I kind of leaned toward it. For some reason, April's in my mind. I got into business in 88. I was 13 at the time. And I was just doing odds and ends for this local indie company, helping set up the ring and set up shit and things like that. And then at 15 in 1990, I was a referee for a little bit. And still got some pictures of me. Like I skipped, it was like a high school dance. I skipped. I don't think it was prom, but it was something like that. I skipped a dance so I could go referee a match with the Rock and Roll Express.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the girl I was dating at the time didn't appreciate that, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, 91, I was 16 and had my first match, and it was off to the races.
Oh my God. What's your biggest, I know biggest moments is like an easy one. I could ask you that, but I want to know, like, in your career, like, what do you have what's your like one biggest regret looking back? If you have any.
My biggest regret?
Yeah. If you have one, you might not. Some people say no regrets.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot, it's weird. I was too selfless at times. There was times I probably could have been a little bit more selfish, and it would have helped me out. But that's just kind of not how I'm built.
Right.
And, but I don't know, because I would hear, as far as the Hurricane goes, like before I was Hurricane, I was Sugar Shane, and I'm one of the best light heavyweights in the world, Sugar Shane Helms. But then I'm the Hurricane, and there was such a comedic element to that character that you kind of lose the respect of, being this great worker. But I had to wrestle differently. I almost had to wrestle down as Hurricane to make the character work, And only people that really understand what we do will get what I'm saying. But so there is, sometimes when I hear that, like, why didn't you wrestle as, how you did as Sugar Shane or how you did as Gregory Helms when you were the Hurricane, but I made people smile as the Hurricane, and that mattered more, especially in the long run.
Yeah.
I would have loved to, because I was one of the kind of, pioneers and people that helped the hybrid style that became Ring of Honor and that everybody uses today, or at least a lot of people use today. Sugar Shane and Omega and what we were doing in the years before myself and the Hardys got the TV, like that was our style. We didn't want to just be a high flyer. We wanted to be high flyers that could wrestle, that could get technical, that could fight, that could do it all. I studied the European style. I studied Japanese style. I studied Lucha to a degree, mainly for high spots. Because Lucha kind of has its own version of psychology, which is very different than the American psychology. And so I studied all these different things. But when I got kind of, handcuffed with the Hurricane character, I couldn't apply it all as well as I would have liked. If you study my matches, you can see that every now and then I'll do some, some little tricky shit. And it's like, oh man, this guy really knows some stuff. But to make the character work, I did have to kind of rein that in. When I turned heel and became Gregory Helms, I was able to showcase a little bit of it more, at least for a little while. And that was probably my best body of work as a performer, was that Gregory Helms run, especially at a top level. But then I broke my neck, and that was kind of the end of that run. And I came back. They wanted the Hurricane again. And so I did that again. And then when I left to do the Indies, I even tried to do a new character, but the fans weren't having it. They wanted Hurricane. So I fought that battle for maybe a year and a half, and it was going no fucking way. But it's okay, sometimes, the fans want what they want, and as a performer, sometimes you have to give them what they want.
Yeah.
You can try to steer them in certain directions, and that's how you make things work to a degree. But if they overwhelmingly are chanting a name that I'm not using, I had to pay attention to that. So back to being Hurricane. But like I said, it made people smile, and that's something I can hang my hat on as well.
Yeah, I mean, the fans know what they want, and they want what they want. So I think there's something about comedy when it comes to pro wrestling that's almost like a lost art, because it is not as easy as it seems to be a comedic kind of character or relate in that sense. I do think there are a few right now actively that are on the cusp of it in a good way, or they get to it, and because it can become corny so quickly, and then it's not funny anymore. Yeah. So I think you were good at gauging that without it being so corny that we were like, oh my God, get him off my screen.
Those type of characters are hard to do. They're way harder to do than the badass go out there and beat them up. Like that shit is easy. Right. I mean, some of those people are in the Hall of Fame too, and I could work circles around their ass. But
we won't list them. We don't need to list them.
But it is what it is, But yeah, those characters that have that kind of layers, like I had to make you laugh. Like when the comedy started getting over, Like then that became a thing. Like, okay, I got to make him laugh.
Yeah.
And then during the heat of the match, I got to get sympathy. And you can only get sympathy if they really like you. Like if you see a clown, you see Bozo the Clown getting beat up, you know, there's only going to be so much level of sympathy. So I had to manage the comedy. I could give you a little bit, but I couldn't go full Three Stooges. Right. Not if there was going to be legit sympathy. And then during the comeback, you know, the third act of the match, you got to believe I can win. So I had to have an offense that was believable and that make you think I could kick ass at the same time. So what I was asked to do and tasked to do was probably a lot more difficult than I think outsiders are even coming close to realizing.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. And this is what I say to even pro wrestling.
Well, say it then, Gabby.
I'll say it. Hardest job in the whole world. Hurricane Helms. One of the most talented. It was Hurricane. It is. And this is why I say pro wrestling in general. I can't even compare to other sports. Other sports, you just show up and you do your best. And like, whatever, we win or we lose, and that's what it is. But when it comes to pro wrestling, when you're a character, you're playing these things, you have to literally engage with the audience while you're doing athletics and while you're selling this and doing that. And it's incredibly difficult. I don't know how you guys do it. But I do think, especially when it comes to comedy and character work, that was one of the best. And I would love to see something like that now, because I feel like it's lacking a little bit in today's roster and the product that we see today. If Hurricane was to come back in some way or shape, you get in spandex form. They're like, we need it. We need Hurricane. We need to make some laughs. It needs to be good. Who's someone that you think it would work against in the ring, like in a good way?
Oh, I mean, anybody that's got any kind of heat, I could work with easily. You know, Miz would be fun, you know, to work with because he's such a just go-to great heel. Waller, in theory, I know would have a lot of fun with it because they're both just great characters and great personalities. And I'm just looking straight toward the heel side because Hurricane against a babyface doesn't work.
Right.
You know,
of course.
You know, I need a villain. If anybody needs a villain, it's me.
Yes.
Indie promoters used to drive me crazy with that shit. I'd show up and they had me working their babyface champion, and I'd just be like, who are the good villains?
I think Gunther would be great because he's such a.
Listen, Gunther fucking chops me like. Actually, did you see that Jimmy slap him?
Yes, I loved that so much. But then he bloodied him in the middle of the ring and in front of his brother, who was tied up. And
that was rough. That was a lot of blood too.
You came out for that.
I did, but you notice I was like, I put the brakes on because I didn't want to get that shit on me.
Yeah, please.
Like,
you should have came out as Hurricane in that moment and see the pop that Europe would have given you.
Man. See, I'm trying to think of villains with gimmicks. We don't have as many gimmicks.
Right.
You know, because all the gimmicks, they kind of skew toward being a tweener anyway. Because they, you know, heels that try to have this really cool look, sometimes it's just hard to boo them.
Right.
You know, so, I don't know.
That's true.
Gable would be fun. Gable would be a fun one.
Oh, man, that's true.
Yeah. Especially with his new gimmick. That would actually be really fun.
I was thinking it when I was asking that question and then I forgot. That is so true. That would be awesome. He's actually hilarious.
Yeah, Gable's awesome. He's been good in everything too.
Yeah.
It's crazy we got so many people on the roster, but they all kind of blend in sometimes. I'm sitting there trying to pick out. Again, I'm going to attire because the visual of who Hurricane is against.
Right.
You know, that's part of the thing. Who would look like a good villain for me.
That's fun, though.
Yeah, well. I'll think about it later. After the show's over, I'll tell you.
Ooh, Dominic would be fun, too. Dirty Dom.
Dominic would be awesome. That would be awesome. Would be fun. Yeah.
Because he's like a little kid. I see him as like a little kid anyway because, you know, and like comic book wise, like the way he dresses, the way he's just kind of a jerk, like Hurricane saving people from Dom because he's such an ass.
He's got so much swag, though. You know, he's got...
Which... I don't know.
Like,
I don't know about swag.
When he came out at WrestleMania, was it WrestleMania or SummerSlam? Whatever it was, when he was came out of that van, like Hannibal Lecter, I was backstage dying. I was screaming, laughing so hard at that. That was one of my favorite. Was that WrestleMania? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I think it was. Yeah.
That was whatever it was. That was one of my favorite entrances of all time.
He's great, man. And he's so young. He's just getting started, which is even crazier because what's going to be happening years on with him is just freaking wild. Poor Rey Mysterio.
Poor Rey. That's what he gets. So he should have been a better father. That's on him.
It's not something Hurricane would say, but something Shane would say.
He created this monster.
All right, I don't want to take you too much long. I could literally talk to you forever, and I'm having so much fun with this. But one question I kind of always ask a little bit, we're heading into Mania season. It's only April, which is also wild because I feel like so much has already happened. For you personally, as Shane and what you're doing, like what are goals for yourself in your career now for either this year or just things you want to make sure you accomplish before you kind of are done?
It's strange because the position that I have in the company right now is the only position I want. Mm-hmm. So like there are positions above me that I could do from a talent standpoint and, from an ability standpoint, but I love the job that I have now. So, from a career standpoint, it's just to keep this job.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like it's not that I don't have ambitions to climb a ladder, but this is where I want to be. It's where I feel I'm the most effective and the most, I have the most value as an asset to the company is as a producer. So from a career standpoint, I'm kind of where I want to be. My goal is just to keep getting better at this and to help as many talents as I can, so to be a good citizen for our United States champion, Chelsea Green.
Oh my God. By the way, Chelsea Green. Speaking of comedic characters, the fact that we didn't even talk about Chelsea should be, I apologize, Chelsea. You're one of the greatest of all time. She's one of my favorites of all time.
The Secret Hervis is really getting over with me right now.
With her?
The Secret Hervis, her bodyguards.
Oh, yeah.
Piper and Alba.
It's amazing. That whole thing is it. Chelsea's someone to me I just look up to in the sense of like being, released or kicked out and whatever, and like doing what she's done now. She's so damn good. It's like annoying.
Yeah, that wedding that she had in TNA too was the backstage was just howling. I mean, when I tell you people were dying, falling over themselves, like she's out there just drinking the champagne and wine and just getting blistered drunk because she got ditched. That's my favorite wrestling wedding of all time. It was actually in TNA.
So good. She would be great with Hurricane too. Hurricane Challenge and Chelsea Green.
She would be somebody that would drive the Hurricane crazy. So I could see that happening.
Yeah, she calls you to retire at that point. She'd be like, I can't do this. This is what we're doing. This is a shame. I got to do it.
Yep.
We didn't even talk about the TNA collab with NXT and stuff right now. Do you have any? We'll do that super quick. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Like, I'm loving it so much, and I think it's really awesome having some of the TNA talent come over and with what they're doing. It's huge.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's great for everybody involved. I know during the pandemic, when I was having I had a little bit more free times on my hands. I was really watching a lot of TNA at that time, and I thought they were putting out such a really great product. And since then, it's really kind of carried on. I know they're doing good houses now, and the ratings are up for them. So I'm really proud of what they've been able to do with that because I really enjoyed my time working there.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the way it ended.
Right.
But I enjoyed the way I enjoyed my time there. And so it's cool to see what they're doing in NXT, bringing over Jordan Grace, who's just tossing bodies.
That throw of the guy outside. Yeah. I was like, is he all right? Like, I don't think he even knew that was coming.
Yeah, her and Gresham both, I think, are like very, super talented people. So I'm glad to see them get opportunities whenever they pop up. But I think it's really cool. It's something that we didn't really see from WWE ever. Mm-hmm. And just a collaboration with other companies. So it's pretty neat. I think it keeps fans energized too, and that's kind of the key. You want to keep fans guessing. Sometimes, we all knew Mike Tyson was going to knock everybody out. That was exciting, but when Buster beat him up, that was exciting too.
Right.
So, you got to give the fans what they want, but also you got to throw in that unpredictable factor in there every now and then, unpredictability to keep them on their toes. And I kind of feel like that's what that's doing for NXT specifically.
Yeah. It's awesome. The fact that like, I think their women's division is crushing it right now. Like
NXT or TNA or both actually.
Both. And the fact that they're crossing over as much female talent as they are, getting them over in the ways that they are, from Cora to, all these girls, and then when they come up on the main roster, it's not like, oh my God, they're up on the main roster. It's like, no, they belong up here because look at what they're doing and look at how far they've come. Tiffany Stratton, I feel like we just saw her on NXT and now she's, champion on SmackDown. She's facing Charlotte Flair. I just think a lot of this is really cool. You have the Joe Hendrys who are just taking over the world, but he's a TNA champion, and that's what he's saying. It's really interesting, too, because for a while, the TNA Knockouts division, they were kind of, they were super strong in terms of putting out women's wrestling, Oh, my gosh. I know at one time, I think the beautiful people, Angel and Jamie, had 13 weeks. They had the highest rated segment on TNA for 13 weeks in a row or something like that. Yeah. The beautiful people. I think I just called them by their real names. Angelina Love, Velvet Sky. Yes. Yes. When I met Angelina, she was Angel Williams. So sometimes I still refer to her as Angel. Oh, that's funny. I just saw her recently. Her and I went to an indie show, and that was on a rare Saturday off. What does my ass do? I go to an indie show. And her husband, Psycho Boy Fodder, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, was in a triple threat with Sylvain Grenier from La Resistance and Ezekiel Jackson. So I got to see some old friends and stuff like that. And it was pretty neat. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember that even for me, and this isn't that far long ago, but the Knockouts division when Mickie James was champion and you had, Naomi was there and you had even Gail Kim getting in on it. It's Awesome Kong, these women that were, I remember that match, the matches of them coming in and I was like, holy shit, Deonna Purrazzo, they were stacked with talent and Chelsea was still there at that time. The Knockouts division is ridiculous. And I think it's cool for these women to be, Jordan Grace, from what she was to where she is now is massive. And what she did for the Knockouts division, showing up at the Rumble, same thing with Mickie James, just those moments were huge. And it's cool to see because it's only going to make more moments, even for the men. The whole thing what they just did with Moose and all this kind of stuff, it's really awesome. Even the Hardys are TNA, but they were in NXT. I like to see, especially veterans in the game, in the ring with the younger talent to just elevate them and build them up because it's cool to see and it's cool for the younger talent to I feel be inspired by that in a certain sense. Yeah, because I know what it was like to be a younger talent, to get in there with somebody that you watched coming up, that's a special feeling. And I know there's a lot of people excited about working with Matt and Jeff, those younger talents. Right. So that's really cool of them to see, Yeah. That was one of my favorite things about doing the indies when I would get there and, it would be somebody just so super excited, unless they got too excited and I had to calm them down. But because that would happen too. Don't get too excited. We still got to go out there. I'm still going to punch you in the face. So relax a little bit. But that's exciting, man. That happened to me. I remember in WCW, the first big star that I was in the ring with was Luger. And I just remember who's going into the Hall of Fame this year. Congrats, Lex. I remember he was running at me to clothesline me over the top rope, and there was a moment when I'm just looking at him run toward me, and I'm like, "That's Lex Luger." Yeah. I turned into a little kid again, that's Lex Luger. That's amazing. Then he clotheslined me over the top. That's really cool. That's why I also think that show LFG is so cool because you bring in these new young, hot, fresh talent, and it's imagine your coaches. You're looking at the Undertaker just being okay, cool, thanks for the advice, Undertaker, Booker T, Mickey, and Bubba Ray. It's such a gift and it's cool to watch as a fan. I say LFG is the voice when it comes to pro wrestling. I wish they could turn the chairs like they do, but I think the young talent coming in is what WWE does best, is finding the young talent wherever they do and bringing them into NXT and bringing them into these shows because you guys know how to spot it. I just feel you see it before anybody else. And that's why it will forever and always be a revolving door of new stars and new people building up, which is really, really cool. Yeah. Because it's an action movie that never ends, so you can't just have the same cast all the time. You got to trickle people in and out and find something new. And sometimes it's going to work. Sometimes it doesn't, but you at least have to try. Yeah. And that's where NXT right now, they've moved so beyond the developmental label, Yeah. They moved so far beyond that, and they're their own thing.
And I mean, it's exciting to watch, you know, like, cause there was a time I didn't really pay attention to NXT, you know?
Right.
But now, like, Tuesday's on. If I'm home, it's going to be on, you know? I enjoy watching it. And because I do like to see talents progress, and I know some of these talents are going to come to the main roster at some point, it also helps me to watch them and see where they're at. That way, when they do come up, I don't have to go, hey, what kind of moves do you do? Like, I will know exactly who they are.
Of course. Yeah. Got to do your research, because that's what you do, because you're pro at this. That's why you're the best, Hurricane. You know
I try.
I'm just saying. I'm excited. Thank you so much for the time. I know I took you longer than I was supposed to, but I don't know if that was because we could just talk a lot. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I podcasted for a long time, you know, once again, before you were born. So, I know how to do this. Yeah. And it can be really fun. Like my podcast, the last version I did was just be by myself.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I would have to cut myself off.
Oh man, there's nothing like doing it yourself. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, what you do in the privacy of your own home, Gabby, I will not, you know, but yeah.
I'm usually alone, so I get it. It's Gabby AF because it's just me. So if I wasn't talking to you, I would just be talking to myself basically about everything else.
Do you answer yourself?
I do. Okay.
See, that's when you need help. You can ask yourself questions, but when you answer yourself,
people want to know my answers. I think that's the whole point.
Okay.
I give good answers. I'm very good at the rehearsals of things. But are you excited for Vegas? Am I going to see you out there?
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go spend some time doing some training before I go there. So I think once I get home after Vegas, it'll be another 14-day loop for me.
Oh man!
So it'll depend on where my energy level's at. But yeah, I'm generally pretty good. So I'm sure I'll run into you at some point.
It's my first time in Vegas, so hopefully I make it home.
Never been before?
Never been to Vegas. And every time I tell people, they're shocked by that. Yeah. So I'm just hoping I make it back home in one piece, because Vegas is a lot.
Yeah, I got a couple of Vegas stories that I can't share.
Oh, maybe after the show?
For the book I'll never write.
Oh, write a book. That would be awesome.
I don't know.
I'll be your ghostwriter. Journalism degree. Just saying. I'm using it so well.
See, when you said ghostwriter, my mind went to the Ghost Rider, and I just pictured your head on fire.
Oh, I guess we'll end on that, because that would be cool. Shane, thank you so much for the time. You know, I love you. I appreciate you so much. This has been so much fun, and hopefully we'll get you on again, and hopefully we'll have a drink together in Vegas.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. And everybody watching, be safe this weekend. We are 2 weeks from WrestleMania, so get excited. And we will talk soon. From everyone at Gabby AF, what do I even say? Love you most, no backs. LYMNB. I say love you most, no backs. I forgot what I say at the end of my show, because Shane lit my head on fire, and now I'm excited about it. So
what's up with that?